and Blue CFL podcast. We're out of hibernation. It's about that time. It's not June, but it is April, and we are ready to go. Right back after the break. Hello, good day. Welcome to the Rouge, and Blue CFL podcast. We're back. My co-host and I, Joe Pritchard, are back. Joe, how are you feeling? You out of the hibernation? Had enough coffee this morning?
Just starting to go, okay, where are we at here? Oh, it's not June yet, but we're getting there.
Uh-huh. Certainly are. Um, the draft coming up soon. Did you miss the theme song?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I haven't heard the theme song in a long time. All right.
Five
So,
months.
yeah, Joe and I have not spoken in 5 months, and so we have a lot to discuss today. Basically, we're going to discuss everything that happened since the World Cup, since Joe returned from Canada and seeing Grey Cup. Uh, let's get into it then. Um, okay, the news of this week. I'm glad we came back this week because this week we have the new commissioner comes in. This is Stuart Johnston. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, because we've been doing this podcast for a few centuries now. Is this, will we now be seeing the fourth commissioner, or is this the third? Did this show begin when Jeremy Orridge was already commissioner?
I want to say Jeffrey Orridge had just become
Jeff.
commissioner because
uh,
it was at the end of 2015. We basically, for people that haven't followed along since the beginning, and that should be most of you because we came from very, very, very small time.
Yeah,
That
nobody listened to that early one. Nobody listened to that 2015
I
version, I
mean,
think.
to be fair, there's only a few more than that right now. But anyway, uh, yeah. So 2015, we started basically the end of October, early November, and then we hit the high points of the playoffs, and then we went basically weekly. I want to say almost weekly, all the way through to the start of next season, just going over CFL history and whatever topics we thought were interesting at any given time, watched old Grey Cups, things like that. Those are probably lost to history now because then we made a move to a different network and then we came off of it. Then we were on our own for forever. And now we're at Shotgun. So
Shotgun Sports Network,
I'm
right?
sure there's a few, I'm sure there's a few, the first 30 or so episodes are probably just long gone unless Oz is a better hoarder than I am. So,
Oh,
but
I've got them. I've got
you've
them.
got them.
I've got them. I don't throw anything away. I don't throw any data away. I've got passport drives full of this stuff. So, yep,
Nice.
yep.
Well, I'll have to ask for that someday.
Oh
Uh,
my God, I'm
Even
not
though I
sure.
wouldn't dare listen because I don't like listening to myself now. We've been doing this for 10 years.
In the early days, I was quite fastidious in that I went through and deleted the pauses and the and stuff like this. I actually have one track from those days. It's 5 minutes of hesitations and pauses. Um, that's
Mostly
the one.
me.
That's the one I'll have to share with you. Oh, it's a duet, let me tell you, Joe. It's yeah. We both contributed, but so I guess now we're in the 10th season. We're on our third CFL commissioner, Stuart Johnston, formerly president of TSN Network. He had held that position since 2019, I believe. He literally will take over this job on Thursday. We're recording this on Monday night, Eastern to Pacific time. On what is it? So January 20, April 22. Let's see. Okay, so Mr. Johnson also serves on the Canadian Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee and Board of Directors. So this position might actually be a bit of a come down for him. He's also listed as a former senior vice president of sales and content at Bell Media. All of this I thought was pretty interesting. I thought it was pretty fitting because if you recall, immediately following the Grey Cup and even around the Grey Cup, some folks were suggesting that Dwayne Ford would be an interesting choice for commissioner. And I figured, oh, okay, great. So just hire his boss instead. That's even better. Now, when you heard this news, because it was announced earlier this month, what were your first thoughts?
Well, I think the league struggles to get it to get the word out about
Mhm. Mhm.
where to find the games, especially in the day of and age of streaming. If you've been on any social media in the past, you know, 5 years or so, probably, Reddit especially seems to be heavy with, "Hey, where can I watch this?" Well, you got a guy that made TV. He should be able to make it easy to find the product then, hopefully, right? And then people have been talking about just how the broadcasts seem to look the same from, gosh, probably when we started to now. Maybe there's a slight lack of innovation that they've been complaining about, although I don't see much of a problem with it. In fact, I like the comfort the comfort of knowing what I'm going to get. At the same time, he's a guy that knows TV and knows what the league needs to do to be more presentable on TV and can speak the language to whoever takes over TSN or whoever ends up with the contract after TSN, because I believe the TSN deal is done at the end of the season if I'm not mistaken. So
Right.
who's to say that it won't start ending up on streaming somewhere or split the package, TSN some, and they've been putting some on CTV too in the past year or so. That's also a Bell Media, so it's the same corporate umbrella. But if anybody's going to know a way to help the CFL become more presentable for a younger TV audience and find a way to go find them where they're at, it's going to be Stuart Johnson, right?
Right. Right. Well, that's what we're hoping, apparently. Here is from the CBC reportage of this hiring. Quote, the hiring is notable given the CFL's current broadcast agreement with TSN, which runs through 2026, as you just said, Joe. The deal is reportedly worth $50 million annually, and the CFL also has an American broadcast contract with CBS Sports Network, which is set to expire in the same year. And of course, as an American, that's the one that, of course, most of us would like to see fixed up. I did look it up before the show as well. For my own sake, the CFL Plus system is still in effect for all international viewers. And once again, I got to point out the irony here that it's easier for someone living outside of the Canada or the US to have access to these games, at least for 4 to 5 days after they broadcast. So, uh, thankfully, us expats, have access to CFL Plus online. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if he can sort that out. Of course, I don't consider myself a genius for figuring out the connection to TV. Joe just made that connection as well, and I'm sure that lots of other folks did too. Now, Randy Ambrosi was commissioner for 7 years. I mean, he's more or less the Pope John Paul II of CFL commissioners. I believe that was the second longest anyone has held that position. Um, how do you remember the Ambrosi era, Joe, which ends on Thursday?
Honestly, looking back on it, and I've thought about it a little bit in the past couple of weeks because I'm starting to get back into the mindset of, okay, here comes another season, and just in our position here as outside, we're outside the normal media zone, right? you remember before COVID, we were getting included on like CFL media emails, and we're involved every so often with like surveys that they would do and such.
Mhm.
I feel like after, and you remember social media too, like in the mid 2010s, right? Where the CFL was kind of cheeky on social media. It made a big deal about trying to find the younger fans that way. I feel like as soon as COVID hit, all that went away. And we just kind of went back to just kind trying to find a proper way of saying it, but I feel like it kind of just got stale, right? They stopped looking to
Hmm.
innovate. They stopped looking to chase social media clicks. It was really appealing to follow the league on social media, and then they lost some talented people. COVID hit, priorities changed. Maybe that's going to be the next thing for Stuart Johnson to figure out is okay, we had some eyes, some younger eyes on us. Did they stick around? How can we keep them sticking around? How can we make this product more appealing? And how can we get more fan involvement going?
Mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah, I felt that after. I mean, Mr. Ambrosi came in, and I mean, at least very right from the go, he was not the stealth commissioner that the had that his predecessor had been. Okay, and so at least he was out there. He was engaging with fans. He did the thing where he went to all the stadiums, pretty much each season. He visited all the stadiums. But yeah, as you were saying, COVID hit, and after that, I felt like he was just trying to keep the ship together. I just felt like he was trying to hold things together at that point. One of the reasons why your social media engagement went down at precisely the point when it needed not to, by the way, was that budget, right? They had to cut these budgets. Uh, Mr. Ambrosi came in with the goal of maybe forming that 10th team, or at least getting the ball rolling on that. And he went out saying, well, thank God we played the 2022 season. You know, I mean, so that the really COVID had that chilling effect on the league. I mean, I was quite concerned at the time. I was quite concerned that we might not see the league again. And then you started getting flaky stuff like, oh yeah, the XFL is going to merge. You
Yeah,
know, so
and really, and I've said this in the past too. Like his legacy, when you go out 10, 20 years and look back, is to go, okay, we were not stable in BC, we were not
right,
stable. Well, stable might not be the not stable. It might not be correct in Vancouver, but it was the product wasn't on fire.
right.
Um, Toronto was chronically unstable. Montreal was chronically unstable.
They're scheduling games on Tuesday and
Uh huh.
Wednesday because of BMO in Toronto, and
Yeah,
you know,
that a lot of that's gone away now.
right, right.
It
Yes,
it
yes,
so
yes.
a change might be needed now,
Mhm.
but the legacy is going to be the three largest CFL markets, the ones that had the most trouble for, gosh, about 20 years, are now no longer as troubled and
Mhm.
seem to, and some are even net positives for the league. Vancouver for sure.
Mhm.
Montreal is getting there too, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's appealing to people with money to come and say, okay, I'm not throwing away everything I own on the CFL. It's going to be a labor of love for these owners, but they're people with means that want to be involved. That's very telling to me.
Right,
So
right.
something's going right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we can talk about the negatives. We can talk about how, maybe they need to still go find that younger audience that they were trying to get about 10 years ago and kind of fell away from, and having another body in place might be the better person to do it. but they're what ended up happening is some really weak spots got solidified, and you can't ask for a whole lot more.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, again, like I mean, he righted the ship. He kept the ship together when things could have been very, very dark. I mean, he had to. Those may remember he had to go in front of Canadian Parliament and like say, "Hey, can you give us some COVID money?" You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
I don't think that's going to be a, Canadian Heritage Minute anytime soon.
no, that's not a highlight of the thing. That's not a highlight of his term. But I mean, this is what they were reduced to at that point. But you know, we're still here. We're still here. So that's the main point here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at some player movement because I understand there were some moves
Just a
in the
few.
past
Nothing,
5.
nothing earth shattering like an MVP quarterback finding a home with a division rival. Oh wait, that happened.
For example, oh my god. Okay, all
The
right. So
2023 Grey Cup winning quarterback is now a backup to begin 2025, and
right,
that's
right, right.
nothing
Yep.
big, right?
MVPs. Well, okay, so all right, so let's get into it. Grey Cup ends basically about 10 minutes afterwards. Nah, not really, but it felt like that looking back on it now. It was a long time ago. Vernon Adams goes to Calgary. Now, the the interesting thing about this was a trade, and it's not like this is very common in the CFL until now. Um, this trade essentially amounted to um, Vernon Adams for a couple of pick swaps, like they do in the NBA, and the number 9 overall pick, which was Calgary's. However, in March, it turned out that 4 teams, BC among them, had violated the salary cap and so lose this pick. So more or less, Calgary got Vernon for nothing here. So if they have any success this season, and success this season might be making the playoffs, incredibly enough for Calgary in the 21st century, um, this is a completely, utterly one-sided trade.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah. BC was stuck. They had to move Vernon.
okay, but
Obviously, they
even
had
being stuck,
yeah.
even being stuck, they're getting nothing for this.
Oh
They're
yeah,
getting
they're
nothing.
getting absolutely nothing. Clearly, the salary cap was shattered because they were
Mhm,
going for a Grey Cup in 2024,
mhm,
and that didn't work out so hot.
mhm.
So they had to move them, but you'd have thought somebody else would have given you more, right?
Yeah, yeah. Although, as it turns out, not too many teams were looking for quarterbacks. I wonder if Montreal hadn't offered something here as well. But I think all that Montreal might have offered was Cody Fajardo, who they later traded, because you notice about a week after this deal is when the Montreal deal went down. But I'll talk about that one in just a second. Okay, so your team is out there in the West, Joe. What does this do for Calgary? First off,
It gives Calgary hope, right?
mm-hmm.
What was happening last year and the year before, to be fair, and even the year before that, you could tell it was starting to go that way.
Yeah, yeah.
But the last 2 years, the offense wasn't clicking. And I'll get to Jake Mayer later because I have some things that have kind of crystallized in my head over this past 5 months that we took a break from. I mean, it took me that long to get over the Grey Cup, to be fair. Uh, no, wait, I'm still not over that. But anyway, no, So Vernon is going to be a very high ceiling player and a very low floor player, like he always has been. Like his best days, if he's on, you're going to win that game most likely, unless your defense completely implodes. If he's off, good luck to you. It's just the way he's always operated. He's had more on days than off in the past, what, 3 or 4 years. It feels like he continues to grow. I almost feel like looking back on things, and I wasn't as into the league uh, when Henry Burris was around for the most part as I am now, but it really kind of feels like another Henry Burris type player where the highs are high, the lows are low, and whatever you get that day, you never exactly know.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But those highs could be good enough to win Calgary some of those games they couldn't quite pull out with what they had going on last year. And the way Vernon presents himself in public, the way he presents himself in the locker room. I mean, just look at what happened to BC when they took his job away from him
Hmm.
and how well that went for BC in the locker room. I mean, if you told me Calgary went 500 next year or even 10-8, I wouldn't be completely shocked.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, well, on to BC really briefly then. I mean, like, why wait on Mayor? Okay, because here was the thing. All right, so I was just going through the transactions, and of course, for fans of the show, for fans of the third down quarterback, you noted that Tommy Stevens, the highly successful quarterback for Calgary, actually I have his stats here. Last year, 160 rushing attempts, 25 touchdowns, including, and this is where I'm going with this, including that 169 yarder. Do you remember this one against the Riders? Right, where he just kind of bounced off and then went right and just like had the open field. It was an amazing play. But in that game, Jake Myers Long was a 20 yarder. I mean, the thing is, the guy is throwing a medicine ball, and this is what held back uh, Calgary for the past couple of seasons from like really excelling. I mean, I think Vernon's going to make all the difference, Joe. I'm in my way too early predictions. I Calgary's going to make the playoffs.
Impossibly.
I
And
think.
I think Mayer is going to benefit greatly from a fresh start in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan now has their quarterback of the future potentially because remember, Mayer came into the league and was throwing 300-yard games
Yeah.
left, right, and center with Mark Mueller as the offensive coordinator,
Uh-huh.
or was he quarterbacks coach at that point? I can't quite remember at this point.
I
But
think
yeah,
so.
he had Mark Mueller around. He's got Mark Mueller in Saskatchewan, and he's got a little bit of time to sit back and learn the offense too, instead of being thrown into the fire. As long as Trevor Harris can stay upright, because it's going to be Trevor Harris's team this year, but who knows next year, year after. You give him a fresh start like that. You got a coach that knows how he operates and how he looks when he looks good. I mean, I'm sitting here wearing blue, going, I don't like how that math adds up for Saskatchewan because I'm wearing blue. So, in other words, we might look back on the 2025 offseason and go, that's when Saskatchewan solidified the quarterback position.
Wow. Really?
Might,
Really?
but
Okay.
but that's on the table.
Okay. Wow. Well, I wasn't quite ready to talk Riders yet. I did want to bring up, of course, BC, the ones who dispatched Vernon Adams. Now, aside from this, not too many moves at BC. Bolo Combo retired and David Mackey retired after 7 seasons as well. Sad to see Mackey go. He's one of the last pure fullbacks, I think, in the game. But other than this, there wasn't much churn there in BC. So I guess the question is, was what they had at the end of last season enough? Is it?
Not the way it was constructed, no.
Okay.
Something went. Obviously, they had to. I'm going to defend going after Nathan Rourke last August. It was the obvious move to stabilize the franchise
Okay.
because the way Nathan Rourke played in the CFL was fantastic. He's a hometown guy. Like that's a move you just I, we would have been flaying BC alive for not making that move, right?
Right.
I don't yeah. But it didn't work out so hot last year. This year, new coaching staff is you have Nathan Rourke to have the whole year to work with the offensive staff instead of being thrown into the fire in August. That might help. Not having Vernon Adams around to be, uh, and not to say Vernon Adams did anything wrong. I want to make that abundantly clear. But when you have two MOP quarterbacks, half the room's going to like one guy, half the room's going to like the other. You
Hmm.
don't have that problem this year.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
There has, I feel like they were a net loss in talent, and the draft ain't going to help either with losing all those picks either. So I don't see BC as a true contender this year.
Wow. Okay.
I could see them. I don't know if in the final predictions I make I'm going to put Calgary over BC, but I could see that happening right now.
Wow. Really? See, that's not a question from me. The question for me is, does BC make the playoffs? Um,
I
you know,
think either of those teams are really 3 through 5 in the West is going to be really interesting this year.
crossover. Okay. All right. So, also at BC, Jeremiah Masoli will be backing up. They signed him over again, former MOP level player, now backup. All
And he
right.
might
So,
and he might end up being, just from what I've seen around, he might end up being basically an extra coach, right? Like he's the guy that's going to be there to help support Nathan Rourke.
yeah.
He's not starter material anymore. I think we've seen that just based off the injuries over the past few years. But his knowledge in the room and him being able to be there and help Nathan learn the CFL game a little bit more so.
Mhm.
It's one that you're not going to talk about too much, but it's going to be there. It's going to help.
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah. This was in Marshall Ferguson's column of February. 10 sneaky good signings in the CFL. This was one of the ones that was listed right up at the top as the backup for Nathan Rourke, as the player coach for BC this season potentially. Okay, as we
Well, good.
alluded to.
Score one for me for knowing what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there you go. Again, I should say. All right, so here we go. As we alluded to before, about a week after the Vernon Adams trade, there was the Montreal trade. Cody Fajardo traded for McLeod Bethel Thompson. Now they're in Montreal. We have Bethel Thompson, who's had a decent season last year in Edmonton, but he is 36. We have Caleb Evans, who subbed in for a couple of games in July last season, and we had Davis Alexander, who seemed okay last season early on, played 4 games in July, August, against 4 games against Saskatchewan and Hamilton. So it was a rider sandwich uh, in that stretch of the season, but played really well in that stretch. Later in the season, solid stopgap quarterback, as Montreal had already clinched playoff spot. Um, Other than this, Montreal didn't have too much turnover. We lost Reggie White to your guys, Joe.
Mhm.
to the Bombers. And I guess our big signing was we signed Cyrus Hogan Sandon. I hope I'm saying that correctly, which is really nice. He's a Montreal guy. And that means on our left side, we'll have, Hogan Sandon as well as Pierre Olivier Lestage at left guard. So I like that. I like the
Oh la
Quebec.
la.
Yeah, the Quebecois connection on the left side. I like it very much. I guess I should also note that place kicker David Cote retired after 4 seasons with Montreal. He was solid. Okay, but of course, this is all about the quarterback. Um, Kind of a bummer, Joe. This was our Super Bowl, our Grey Cup winning quarterback. Um, I don't know. How do I feel about McLeod Bethel Thompson as an Alouettes fan? Tell me that, Joe. How should I feel? You're an optimist.
He's not starting. So
Hmm.
if he's
Okay.
playing, you're in trouble, right?
Oh yeah. All right.
Well, if he's playing extensively, right? My
Mm-hmm.
backup rule, as I've stated over the years, is I want my backup quarterback to be able to take over for my starter for a month and keep the team at about 500. If they could do that, I'm okay. If it's longer, we're probably screwed anyway.
Well,
And
this is
Davis
the.
Alexander is your franchise guy.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
quite a gamble to make given his just sheer lack of experience, but
Mhm.
they saw something they liked when he was starting and he plays Cody Fajardo. So, I mean, we've questioned any Machocha decisions in the past, haven't we?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Like, but on that one, he'd better not be wrong, is all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, all right. I guess I feel better about that. I don't know. I'm kind of scared of. Once again, I got to be scared of Hamilton. But we'll talk about them later on in the show.
I would just say your ceiling is as high as it was last year, and
Uh-huh.
your floor is a lot lower.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah, I would say so too. Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, Cody Fajardo. Of course, there were times when I love the man, but there was always that element of skepticism with him. But again, you never know what you got until it's gone, right? And so I'm a little bit sad about that still in this offseason. But what can you do? All right, now Cody Fajardo goes to Edmonton. Edmonton probably had the most interesting offseason. Did a lot of stuff. Um, what is it? Turned over, according to the CFL.ca free agent tracker, they lost 12 players and they signed 12 players. I think that the pluses outdid the minuses. In January, our new owner, basically came out and said, okay, this is Trey Fort's chance to prove himself. So we are officially giving the ball to Trey Ford after a couple seasons of waiting to get off to an 0-7 start before giving him the ball. Um, let's see. Probably. All right. I mean, again, Edmonton made a lot of moves here in this offseason. Let's see. Terrell Ford, probably the biggest gain, right? But they also took Toronto for 3 offensive linemen, including the starter at right tackle. And Toronto was second in overall defense last season, it should be noted. They also took away a couple of players from Hamilton. Um, of Actually of note here. So yeah, they took from Toronto David Beard, the starting left guard, who has played in every game except one in the past 3 seasons. Pretty impressive there. And they also got Stephen Dunbar, who has 20 touchdowns in his past 5 seasons. He has 2,000 yard seasons as well. And last year had 1159 and 15.6 yards per catch, both CFL career highs for him. So Edmonton adding some name players, looking, as Joe has been saying in this show, maybe stable for the first time in a long time. Seems strange to say when you sign
Wrong
12
word,
players. Yeah,
just
but
because
just
of all the change, right?
I wouldn't say stable, maybe solid is the word. I don't know. This again,
They
here's
ra- they
another.
de- they definitely raised their talent level. Yes, I'll go there.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this. I like this. This I mean, I don't think they'll be starting off with 7 or 8 losses this year.
No. Also, I hope that they just say Trey Ford internally anyway, not out loud, but Trey Ford's the starter until Labor Day, regardless of what happens. Let's
Mhm.
just get in the ball, see what happens. We'll reassess in late August and see where we're at.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because this year isn't a Grey Cup winning year for them yet. They
Okay.
had too far to climb in the talent level to get there. This
Mhm.
year is about finding out what you have and see if you can make a step into the playoffs, maybe even surprise a team in the semifinal, what have you, but build that foundation. With a new GM and all the changes they made, the foundation ain't built yet. So give it another year or two. They're hoping they have the piece in Trey Ford
Mhm.
to be part of that, but if they don't, I think they made a really good move in getting Cody Pacharo. I don't
Mhm.
want to see him unless he's doing short yardage for some odd reason. I don't want to see him until, you know, September, but I don't want to see him at all, honestly. I want to see Trey Ford because Trey Ford's exciting and I want him to succeed because that'd be great for the league.
Mhm.
That said, if he can't do it, then at least they have a guy that's been there before and can be the guy in 2026 that you build around.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, as I said, I like the signing of Terrell Ford in Edmonton. 7 picks for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last season.
Mhm.
Bombers also lost Kenny Lawler to Hamilton. Oof. Again, I don't like what Hamilton did this offseason. And the Bombers, basically, I guess most notably, was that they're adding a lot of receivers. They're taking a few swings here. We got Reggie White Jr., who has spent most of the last couple of seasons injured, to be honest. 2023, he missed entirely, unfortunately for him. And last year only played 7 games before getting injured again. So a bit of a swing there. They also added Jareth Stevens of Saskatchewan and Gavin Cobb from Edmonton. I mean, these 2 guys together only had 46 receptions between them, but both young talent. Maybe Winnipeg can find something here. Um, what did you make as a fan, Joe? What did you make of Winnipeg's off season? You like what they did?
Yeah, this one was a little bit harder than it has been for the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd even mention the fact that Ted Gavea left to go be the GM of Hamilton, which means a lot of players followed him.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the biggest loss they've had all offseason, and this is an offseason where they lose Kenny Lawler and Adam Big Hill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's the guy that's helped them build this team for years on end.
Mm-hmm.
Danny McManus is still in place. Kyle Walter's still in place. Michael Shea's still in place. But finally losing one of those guys that's been the cornerstones for years in the front office is going to take its toll.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I did like the James Water signing. Definitely want to have a guy across from Willie Jefferson because you saw what Willie Jefferson could do.
Mm-hmm.
He for 3 quarters he kept the Bombers in that Grey Cup,
Mm-hmm.
and like if he'd have gotten any support from the offense in the fourth quarter, he might have won the damn thing for him, right?
Mhm, 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 mhm,
Um, so you still see what he can do even at his age. Having a guy on the other side, they didn't have that all season. Be nice to have a guy in place that could do that for them. That'd be huge.
mhm,
But yeah, just so much talent gone. Ford is a big one. Ontario Wilson was a big one too, even though I'm less concerned about second or third American receivers going places. Still, he has the talent to be a good player in the CFL. So that one's it's never going to be a good thing to lose a guy like that, right? But I'm worried about the Canadians too because Drew Wolotarski has been consistent for years, and now he's gone, and that's a whole. They love Kevin Clercius. I'm sure they want to give him more time, but you just knew on 2nd and 7 that if something wasn't there downfield, Drew Wolotarski was going to get 8.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. 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 Um, I often I often used him as a fantasy player, but he's not a fantasy player. um, Thinking in terms of fantasy ball too, I gotta say I'm so sick. Okay, so right, talked about Kenny Lawler. Kenny Lawler went to Hamilton. That was one big signing by Hamilton. The GM was another big signing by Hamilton. And I also like the addition of Deshaun Amos quite a bit. Now, Hamilton, I excoriated them last year for so few turnovers. Just 14 picks on the season last year. And I swear to God, all of those were in the last like 4 or 5 games. It felt like. Not true, but that's what it felt like. 14 picks for them. And Amos had 5 for Toronto. So I like how he was stolen away from Toronto. Don't like how he went to Hamilton. I have to be afraid of Hamilton again, right, Joe? I
You
have
do.
to start looking over my shoulder again. Yeah. Okay.
Reggie Settlefield's there too, so that's not going to make matters
Oh,
any better for you.
nope, 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 nope. Hamilton
Don't
looks
know.
good.
Yeah,
Hamilton
I
looks good.
don't know if Hamilton's quite there, but they have a plan for the first time in like
Yep,
5 years. So
yep, yep, yep. Yep, I'm not looking forward to that aspect of the season. I think Hamilton had a nice offseason. Definitely one of the winners of these 9 teams. On the other hand, you have Toronto, who kind of took hits in the way that Grey Cup champions often do. The big one here is that they lost 5 players from the defensive line, including 3 starters and the 2 subs that I mentioned. 3 of these guys going to Edmonton. Let's see. Specifically, that's Jake Seresna, Jared Brinkman, and Robbie Smith. All went to Edmonton. The They also lost another couple of starters. They lost Deshaun Amos, as I just mentioned, to Hamilton. They lost Tunde Adeleke to Ottawa, which was a nice move by Ottawa. And they traded another trade to Calgary. They traded Orem Olde or Orem Olade to Calgary as well. So, Toronto looking about the same on offense, but losing a lot of that defense, which, as I mentioned earlier, was second best in the CFL and first against the run.
yeah, I would that they're gonna definitely show some signs of that. On the other hand, it was their offense that held them back last
Right,
year, so
right,
they basically brought most of that back.
right.
So
I feel like Toronto could be the scoreboard spinner next year. I feel like you're going to see a lot of.
even if they don't, they're still gonna have enough of a defense to win the tight ones too.
Oh, you think?
And they've done as much as we dislike one specific thing that they've done very well in being a consistent winner and finding a way to do that. And it's going to take more than just losing a few free agents for me to go, oh, their time is up. I mean, we were doing that to Calgary for how many years before it finally caught up to them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're on
But Toronto,
like they've won 2 out of the last 3 Grey Cups. It's going to take like 3 or 4 more years of getting poached like consistently before it's going to be troubling in my mind.
damn, I was trying to be optimistic here. I mean, we've got the Montreal. I think took a slight net negative. Probably I've got Toronto. I wanted to say they took a huge net negative. Now I
No,
can't.
I think Toronto's the
Oh my
best
god.
team in the league right now.
Really?
I think they
Wow.
are. I
Wow.
think they've proven that even with some of the losses they suffered last year, and some of them self-inflicted, some of them not, and they were treading water for a while. But when you pull away from the situation and just look back, you just go, yeah, in the second half of the season, they were the best team in the league. And there's really not a lot of question in my mind about that.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, shocking. I like this early on. Okay. We have the Red Blacks. The Red Blacks, as I mentioned, got Tunde Adelic. Eugene Lewis is in Ottawa. Lost Hogan Sandon and Jeremiah Masoli. Also of note that this just announced, I think, late last week, Greg Ellingson officially retires as a Red Black. He did play for 5 teams in the CFL, including the 2023 Grey Cup winning Alouettes. Yeah. And didn't play at all last season. But of course, known as one of the great Red Blacks in that short franchise history. Um, Good career, Greg. Thanks for playing. Thanks for helping out the fantasy team every so often as well, in 2023 especially. Um, okay, Ottawa last season stayed in games by sheer force of will. Did not seem to have that massive talent sheet that some other teams in the league did, but was a plucky team that ultimately made the playoffs. What do you think about Ottawa's chances this year? Is this another team on the up in the East?
I think if Lewis and Stanback still have something in their tank, they could take another step.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot. They got a lot. Really, there's no team right now I can just sit there and go, okay, that's going to be one of the 3 teams that are going to miss the playoffs
Right,
for sure.
right,
Like we were doing last year with Calgary and mostly Edmonton, although
right.
I think I think we had them creeping up a little bit higher than they did. But like you could look like a month into the season and go, okay, you're terrible, and you're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know which of there's going to be a team, maybe even 2 that do that. I don't know who that is yet because I don't. And Calgary is probably the closest I have, but that would be to discount what Vernon Adams could bring to a team.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Okay. Interesting take. I think this might be a year when things get shuffled up a little bit. I would not be surprised. Let's see. And we talked a little bit about the Riders. Uh,
Yeah, and I mean,
I
just going back to Ottawa for just a hot second,
sure.
they're just a team that I think Drew Brown's got to stay healthy for because
Okay.
they've got a lot of names in that quarterback room. They lost Jeremiah Mazzoli. I mean, Dustin Crum's your short yardage guy, and if he's anything more than that, you're in trouble. Um, and I think there's a couple of kids with talent there too, if I remember correctly. Like I want to say Tyree Adams a couple of years ago showed flashes and they got hurt, but gosh, I'm just trying to think offhand. It felt like last year they came into camp with like 5 guys that you could see some sort of future for,
Uh-huh.
possibly. And then right now I'm not. Right now, obviously Drew Brown's the franchise. That's who they set. That's what they set up last year to begin with. I don't know if they have a number 2 that I trust right now. So Drew Brown's got
Let's
to stay
see.
healthier.
Let's see what we got here. Hold on, I'm calling up the current roster. Let's see. So we have at quarterback, we have, let's see, we have, okay, wait, where, what is my alphabet? Okay. So we have Tyree Adams, we have Drew Brown, and we have Dustin Crum. Oh, and we have Matt Schultz, of course, who came over
Okay.
this season.
Again, another guy that He's not your future anyway.
Right.
Um, yeah, I guess
Not a
I
starter.
no. Um, just imperative on Brown to be a little bit healthier than he was last year to keep Ottawa moving forward, or Tyree Adams can
Yep.
fulfill some of the promise that he seems to have flashed so far.
Yep. Tyree Adams has had what 31 no, I'm sorry, 49 attempts in the past 3 seasons, 0 for 0 last year. So it might be nice to see him make that step up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in the league since
Long
2022.
story short, if Drew Brown's off the field, I feel a lot less confident about Ottawa right now.
Hmm. 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 Okay. So Alouettes may stay out of the cellar in the East. That's nice to know for us Als fans. Um, okay, so the draft is when? The draft is still a couple of
We
weeks
didn't
away.
really hit on Saskatchewan. Not that I
Oh, if
really
you'd
want
like.
to, but
Let's see. Okay. Well, I was wondering if you wanted to. I mentioned Tommy Stevens. We mentioned Jake Meyer coming over for the Riders, holding the quarterback room there. I did want to mention that they picked up Philippe Gagnon, who played all 19 games for the Owls last season. Sorry to see him go. Let's see. Big losses. Deontay Williams, sort of a long yardage cornerback, but not too much earth shattering stuff in Saskatchewan besides that. Um, this after a season in which, again, their churn was not too bad. So finally, maybe we have a Riders team that's going to stay on the field. However, Joe, what do you think? There's been many different iterations of this team in the past few years, and yet they always get off to that 6-0, 7-0 start and then fade. Uh, I don't know. It's a bit early, but what do you make of this team's chances, especially in the early going?
so even if they do have that fade that they've been making pretty famous over the past
Uh
3 or
huh.
4 years, who's going to catch them?
Uh huh. Okay. Okay. Right.
I think right
Right.
now they're the favorites out west, and
Really?
I hate to say it,
Wow.
I really do, but
Wow.
I feel like Winnipeg's just took one too many steps back in this offseason to feel confident enough to say, "Oh yeah, they'll be fine." I feel like there's just maybe one or two more holes than I want to have right now. Now, that could change. It could get to the end of June and I could feel a lot more confident about things, but right now, I mean, the run's got to end sometime and I kind of feel like it's coming to an end.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I have not yet looked at the odds for Grey Cup. I would rather not do that until the draft results. But
I
yeah,
think Toronto and Winnipeg were
I don't see.
1-2 in the odds.
Yeah.
So, well, one
Oh yeah.
stat I saw real quick, but
Yeah. More than likely, those are the two favorites. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. I would not be confident in putting money on Toronto this season. Not as confident as you seem to be. Wow, Toronto versus Saskatchewan in the Grey Cup, Joe,
in Winnipeg, oh my god.
huh?
I might have to sell my ticket.
Oh, get out of here. You would never do such a thing.
With that matchup,
Um,
I might think about it at least.
um, all right. So we got the draft when? In 2 weeks?
8 days from recording, and recording's
Oh, wow.
happening on the 21st, although it might not be uploaded till the 22nd, either video
Well,
or audio wise.
more than likely. Okay.
So basically, next Tuesday, if you're listening to it, the week it comes out.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
if not, well, you'll know more about it than we do.
And so, are we back next week or in 2 weeks?
2 weeks,
Okay.
because I believe the network's running a draft special the night of.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's come back 2 weeks. I don't know. Do you feel warmed up? Got some good reps in, Joe?
I feel like that was good. That was good.
It's gone by.
That was a good mini camp
Right.
episode.
right? We thank our true fans who tuned into this episode because of the mini camp status of the thing. But Joe, great to talk to you again. Uh, let's put a bow on this episode of the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. I am the co-host, and for my co-host Joe Pritchard, we are out of here. See you in 2 weeks, and yeah, let's go 2025 CFL season.